Hey dudes, and welcome back to the Bantz. Did I fuck up the intro this time? Let's hope I didn't fuck up the intro this time. And as always, I am your host of the Bantz. It is finally Friday, the end of the week once again. But before we move on into our weekend, as per usual, we do have our second What's Happening in Fashion for the week, so let's just get right into it. And first up, as always, we have our headlines for the day. And in our first headline of the day, the winner of this year's LVMH prize was announced, so let's talk about it. So for those of you who don't know what this is, let me give you a brief little rundown. Basically, every year, the Louis Vuitton conglomerate picks out a handful of up-and-coming and young designers and brands that they feel deserve a shot at the Louis Vuitton prize, which is a year of mentorship underneath LVMH as well as a fashion grant for 300,000 euros. And although the competition was strong this year with brands such as a Cold Wall and Botter, Charles Jeffrey, and Roque, to name a few, the winners ended up being the up-and-coming streetwear/contemporary brand out of Japan known as Doublet. And although I do have to give kudos to Doublet and give respect where respect is due, I do feel a little bit torn on this decision. You see, in my opinion, I feel what Doublet is kind of doing really isn't anything new. It just kind of feels something like the kind of breakdown and then let's talk about it style of Off-White mixed with the kind of tongue-in-cheek aesthetic and graphic styling of Vetements and Balenciaga and all the other dumb shit that Denma does. Of course, it is not a blatant copy or rip of either of these brands, and it definitely does have its own creative style, but even so, I kind of feel like Louis Vuitton just picked Doublet because of the fact that they were the most in style or most trendy out of all the finalists here. Although there is a bit of a silver lining here, at least for me, in this story, and that is that brand Roque, the brand that I feel deserved to win the all-over prize, ended up at least getting the special prize, which is not 300,000 euro, but 150,000 euro, as well as a group of mentors in the industry as well. So at least shout outs to them on that. But then from here, I guess let me just pass off the question to you. Do you feel that Doublet deserved to win here, or do you agree with me and feel that Roque deserved to win, or do you feel that one of the other finalists deserved to win instead? I'd really like to know what some other people's opinions are on this as well. Then in our second headline of the day, Hypebeast put out their newest editorial on what they think are going to be some of the bigger trends over the next coming seasons, and it's fairly interesting to say the least. So as per usual, Hypebeast rounded up some buyers and directors from some of the larger and more well-known boutiques and department stores all over the world, such as Sense or End or Lane Crawford, and asked them a bunch of questions such as what fashion show they were looking forward to, what trends they think were going to continue on, what trends were going to be falling off, and things like that for the most part. And one of the reasons why I found this editorial from this season so interesting is because even after Hypebeast talked to all these different directors and buyers and managers from all these different boutiques and big department stores, nobody really had a similar opinion. I mean, yes, there was a couple here and there, but as far as what could be trending or what is going to be in style next, everybody had a different opinion for the most part. And some people even argued for one opinion, while other people argued against the same opinion. Like, let me give you a couple examples here. There were some people that said that the oversized and baggy trend would continue on, while there were some that said that a more slimmer look was going to be trending next. And then there were those that said that the whole oversized baggy look was dying out. And really, like, everybody's opinions on these trends and different styles was just so all over the place. It was really actually mind-boggling to not see all these people that are supposed to be setting trends, setting styles, not on the same page with each other for once. Aside from chunky sneakers, that is, almost everybody unfortunately agreed that chunky sneakers were here to stay. But because of this, I just found it so interesting and kind of so eye-opening, because it really kind of shows that in this day and age, there's so many different styles and trends and different types of fashion out there that even the experts really can't pinpoint what's going to be next. If anything, it kind of seems like a lot of these experts are just trying to hope that fashion and trends kind of stay par of the course for now, because they really have no other idea as to what could possibly be next otherwise. Now, of course, I am a big believer in not following trends. I do feel that everybody should kind of develop their own style, especially if you are a big fan of fashion, such as myself, and I would assume all of you watching as well too. But even so, if this kind of article sounds interesting to you, maybe because you are in the fashion field and kind of want to see what's coming next, supposedly, or you just kind of want to see how these experts really just are all over the place, I would definitely at least skim over this article. It's a very interesting read. Alright, and now let's move on to our art stories for the day. And first up, Juxtapose sat down with artists Kai and Sunny to talk about their newest exposition as well as their newest other works. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about the artist or just like their art and want to see more, I definitely look at this. Then painter Collin Van Der Sluijs showed off some of his newest works that are inside his studio right now. And if you are a fan of really kind of abstract paintings done with a lot of different colors and patterns and really kind of different styles all throughout, I definitely check this out. And lastly, Michael Reeder showed off some of his newest works, and once again, if you're a big fan of heavy graphic, heavy pattern styles done really nicely here in the human silhouettes, I would definitely look into these two very interesting pieces. Okay, and now moving back into fashion for the day, brand Dominate Jakarta showed off their newest Spring-Summer 2018 lookbook, and it's pretty great overall. Having just recently talked about another Indonesian brand in the form of L House, and how a lot of the styles they seemed to carry through were kind of based on Japanese streetwear to some point, you can definitely see that aesthetic come through in this collection here. Like, straight up, if you had showed me this lookbook and told me that this was a new capsule collection from either Dub Tabs or Neighborhood, I would probably actually believe you. The graphics here are really well done, the text is on point as well too, without being overly pretentious like most brands do nowadays. But really, the stars here are just these silhouettes, and the fits on some of these pieces are just so fucking good. Like, seriously, tell me this isn't one of the dopest fits you've seen in a long time. However, there is a downside to this collection. As I've said before, Indonesia still a little bit on the come up, and unfortunately for that, unlike L House here, Dominate Jakarta does not have a web store or even an international seller for the most part, so good luck getting your hands on any of this collection. Then Buttergood showed off their Q2 lookbook, and overall, I think they did a pretty decent job. Starting off, it looks like their staple here is, of course, graphic tees. They are a streetwear brand after all, and I think, truthfully, they pulled off some really nice ones here. Most of them seem very clean, very well done. There's a huge assortment of them, and there even are some nice nods to some culture in there as well too. Aside from that, I do think some of the tops here, the jackets and the pullovers, were really well done as well. Nice, bright, clean, vivid colors without going way too over the top. And I do think the inclusion of some more interesting pants here with some plaids and some all over prints are really well done and not something we've seen from a lot of streetwear brands recently, so kudos to them on that. However, it still is just a tad too expensive for what it is, in my opinion. But if you are a fan of streetwear, I would still look into this. There might be a couple pieces in here that you like that still won't break the bank. Then Louis Vuitton showed off their pre-fall winter 2018 collection, and honestly, it's just super disappointing. You would think, for being the last collection that Kim Jones designed for Louis Vuitton, that he would try to put just a huge amount of effort into it, but it really just kind of feels like he just phoned it in here, unfortunately. Yeah, there is a cool piece here and there, but in the overall, they really are few and far in between. And aside from that, the other pieces here are just so toned down that they end up just feeling so drab, just so lifeless, and they're just so boring because of it. And the awful thing is, that's not even the worst part. Kim's attempt at ripping off the just generic thank you very much bag that we've seen so many brands do the exact same way. I mean, obviously Chinatown Market comes to mind, but multiple other brands have done this as well too. It just feels so bad, so cheap for Louis Vuitton, and I have no idea why he even attempted to try this. So unfortunately, instead of choosing to leave Louis Vuitton with a bang, Kim Jones ended up leaving it with nothing more than a fizzle. And lastly, End Clothing and Brand Champion came together for their newest collaboration, and it's just really bad. Like, I get the idea, but it's just so fucking stupid. Oh, let's just take the Champion C and turn it around and make it a D. See? End Clothing. Get it? And once the comedy wears off after literally 5 seconds, you're just stuck with another boring pullover that looks like they tried to copy Awake and Wise aesthetic, which, I mean, really isn't hard because, I mean, look how much effort it takes. But even so, like, what a waste of a collaboration, really. Alright guys, and with that, let's move on to our articles for the day. And first up, Heddles did another nice history of, this time on renowned Americana brand RRL of Ralph Lauren fame. So if you're interested in learning more about them, I definitely check this out. Heddles also did a very nice history of / overview of the textile Rayon. So if you're interested in learning maybe a little bit of fashion history, or maybe you're just interested in fabrics in general, I definitely look at this. Then High Snobiety put out a top 10 of what they feel are the 10 emerging Korean brands you need to know about. And even for as much shit as I give a lot of Korean fashion, I do think this is worth looking into, not just because, once again, we should always look outside our sphere of comfort in fashion, but there are some decent brands in here as well. So if that looks interesting to you, I definitely check this out. And lastly, Grail did a very nice and very in-depth introduction into men's Japanese magazines. Overall, they cover a lot more than I expected them to, and they do go into a decent amount of detail into each. So if you've ever wondered about those, or maybe seen them around and wanted to know more, then definitely check this out as well. Okay guys, and with that, we come to the end of our second and final whip for the week. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and as always, if you want to read any of the articles I talked about today, or look at some of the photos I wasn't able to include, I've linked all the articles I talked about in the description down below. And if you are new to the channel, then welcome. We do these What's Happening in Fashion videos twice a week, every Monday and Friday. So if you're a fan and want to see more, feel free to subscribe. Otherwise, if you just have some questions or comments or concerns, or even just want to talk fashion in general, feel free to hit me up in the comments down below. I am always willing to talk fashion. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching these videos and supporting my content. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend, and as always, until next time.